one of the nicest things anyone ever said to me was one of the troubled teens I worked with years later said, I didn't like myself until I met you.
I feel like parenting gets harder as they get older, like the real parenting starts,
What is your view on that, on screens, phones, and managing that?
I think one of the best ways to get anyone to open up is to increase their self-esteem. You want them to become their own problem solvers. I never solved kids' problems.
We're so excited to invite Lisa Bunnage onto our show today. She is, yes, she's just blown up on social media, and it's just such a privilege to have her here to share some special tips. I know as a mom of an almost 2-year-old, like I've been really enjoying your videos so much. And every time like it pops up in my feed, it like stops me in my tracks. So I'm very excited for our listeners today. Yeah, so thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I'm excited. I don't do a lot of guest spots. I'm very busy, and so we thought, oh, this sounds good. So I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, no, yeah, we have a lot of listeners who are moms, and moms who are juggling a lot and need all the help they can get. So yes.
Yeah. And, my oldest is 7. And so this is where I have a daughter who's 7. And I was just telling Mamina, like offline, struggling a lot this week with just her emotions and how to control them. And it's almost like we've kind of regressed to having a 3-year-old like toddler meltdown.
How many other kids do
I
you
have another one who is almost 3 and he's a boy.
Okay, so girl and boy. Okay.
Yeah, and she's a good girl. She's very resilient and spirited. But there are times where, and this probably is the age too, and she's my oldest, so we're also new at this and trying to parent as they grow. I think that's what is really hard. I feel like parenting gets harder as they get older, like the real parenting starts, Yeah. Yeah, maybe you disagree.
Okay. Okay. I usually say it gets easier.
Oh.
Yeah, as they get older, I find it's much easier because you've already cemented your leadership and they already get it. So by the time they're 3 to 3.5, they understand rules and boundaries, and also they understand self-discipline. So if they make a good choice, everything's great and you're fun and you're best friends. But if they make a poor choice, my kids used to say, we'd hear you coming down the hall. But it didn't happen very often. So yeah, it usually gets easier past 3 to 3.5 because they have a sense of reasoning. They can reason everything out. Now, if a 7-year-old is starting to get more challenging, there's a lack of leadership there. Something's going on there, or something has happened that has upset her, and you just don't know what it is. So it could be one or the other. You need to either up your leadership skills so that she'll come to you and talk to you in a reasonable way, which is what they tend to do with a leader because they know it gets great results. All the tantrums, the carrying on, that doesn't get anything from me. They just know how to approach a leader because they trust you to take care of business. So the emotions tend to calm down. As soon as they have a leader, tends to calm down. How do I know this? Because I worked with so many kids, teenagers who were heightened emotions, violent, difficult. But when they're up against a leader, they calm right down. They just
I love to hear about that because first of all, I think it's just me not knowing. Growing up, my background is I grew up with, being Chinese American with a very much tiger mom who just told me what to do. That's not how I want to parent. And I think what I struggle the most with is how to react when she's having that meltdown, and not how to get maybe say upset myself, or even how to say the right word so I'm not judging. I'm kind of opening my arms to her in a kind way, so that way she can open up to me. Because I think I agree. I don't feel like she really naturally opens up to me. Maybe to my husband. Maybe he's less of a tiger mom, because I think in some ways I kind of naturally just parent the way I was grown. It
usually go well. Then you also said it sounded more like you swung the pendulum the other way. That it almost sounds that way. I don't really know what a tiger mom is. I don't use all those things.
Yeah.
I don't really know what that is. I'm assuming it's sort of more of the bossy.
Yeah, basically it's like, you are you're wrong, you need to do this, you need to do this, and this is what you need to do.
I see.
Basically,
it's
just
I don't do any of that.
It's just a very Asian culture thing. It's like you are always being told, like mom is always right. I mean, even to this day, my mom still tells me how I should live my life. Because you're always a child, right?
You know what's fascinating? I get clients all over the world, and a lot of my Chinese clients, they live in multicultural homes. And they say they still are parented by their parents, but they're trying to parent their kids differently. But then their parents keep stepping in and telling them how to parent.
Yes.
So,
I'm
so
exactly,
yeah.
that is my household.
And
And
the thing
it's,
is that I have
yeah.
to respect those grandparents. So I'm not going to say you tell them what to do. I have to
No.
respect the culture too. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of stuck in the middle there. They want me to help them parent their child, but also respect their elders. So I deal with that a
Yeah.
lot. So I do
Yeah.
understand that, and I respect
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That-
Well, I mean, luckily for us, our parents are very, they are very involved, but they're also very open. But I think it's just like me being the middle person, growing up this way, but also acknowledging that's not how I want to raise my kids. How do I navigate that? Because I think with my tendency of just being how I was brought up, I kind of have that like telling Sophie, okay, don't do this, like, or this is kind of that just natural tendency, and so I always have to kind of work harder or think about what I should be reacting or saying to her, so that way she's open and kind of telling me what she wants is I think that's why we're more the most is
I
her
get that.
not. Yeah.
I get that.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's hard to know how to move forward if you don't know how you want to move forward. But
Yeah.
once you've clarified that, then it's easy to do, by the way. So anyway, okay, so she's got big emotions, I'm assuming. Something happens that she doesn't like. So she has these big emotions. And by the way, I think one of the best ways to get anyone to open up is to increase their self-esteem. You want them to become their own problem solvers. I never solved kids' problems. If they came to me with a problem, I always sympathize. I use empathy and understanding. And I say, that would be frustrating. What are you going to do about that? I don't know. I don't know. Can you have any ideas? Well, when I was your age, I can remember I tried that. It didn't work all that well, but would that maybe work? I want them to problem solve. This increases their confidence, their self-esteem, and they're more likely to come to you because you're so busy building them up. And my mom did that for me. Whenever I went to her with a problem, and I'd say, Mom, what should I do? She goes, well, I don't know. You're a smart girl. You can figure it out. And I did, but she was helping me. But I didn't realize it. She never told me what to do. She encouraged me to problem solve. So that increases their confidence. And if someone makes you feel good, you do good. If someone makes you feel good about yourself, don't you kind of want to tell that person everything? You see,
Yeah,
you never
good
want
point.
them to feel shame or guilt ever. Ever. There's no place for that in what I teach. I teach calm leadership. You want them to feel empowered and confident and good about themselves.
Nice.
Got it. So then what do you say in the moment where they obviously is doing something that is, not correct?
Yeah,
Do
you're
you
gonna have to
say,
give me a specific example, and you can just make something up.
yeah. So for example, like, one thing we always struggle with is dinner time. Like my kids have a hard time sitting down. They leave all the time. Many kids do. And, I know some friends and colleagues are really strict about, and we haven't. And part of it is just the grandparents step in and they're a little, will chase the kids with food. That's like the kids cannot go hungry. So dinner time is a struggle for us. And my daughter, we've always tried, and because my son will follow her. So when she leaves, he leaves. So it just becomes a huge mess. So we've tried to encourage her to stay and things like that. And so whenever she does leave, she forgets. How do I redirect her and say, instead of saying, hey, Sophie, no, don't leave. Is there a better way to say that? Like,
Yeah,
what?
I don't talk like that.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I'd say, I'll tell you what, I've got a brand new routine here, and I would write it all out, and I would say dinner time routine. It's
Yeah.
usually 4 parts, and you can adjust this to make it work for you. Number 1 is say, I want you to come to the table within 5 minutes of being asked to do so.
Okay.
No toys or devices at the table. No getting up once you sit down. And the last one is put your dishes away before you leave the area or the kitchen or wherever you eat. So those are it's usually 4. Write it all out, put it up on a wall, and say, that's our new routine. You can use my free behavior board. It's on bratbusters.com. You can use that and put down follow mealtime routine. And then you write it up on a little placard, put it in front of where she eats as a reminder, put it up on the wall, wherever you need to remind her. Now, once it's in place, she's 7. Once it's in place, you might say, remember the mealtime routine. Okay, I'm going to start the timer for 5 minutes. That means that she has to come to the table within 5 minutes. Okay. So you've got those timers that you can see, and I only bought this timer myself just so I could show parents, and they all go, yeah, we've got that. So I thought it was so innovative. Yeah, we've all got that. Anyway, so then if she doesn't come to the table within 5 minutes, this is the key here. Don't say anything. Just get her to the table however else you did. Don't say you broke the rule. I don't talk like that. So So anyway, let her mess up. You always want them to walk into the fire so you can put it out. You never want to avoid them going into the fire because there's no lesson learned. If you're always micromanaging and nagging, where's the lesson? Where's the pride too? If you never allow them to do the right thing on their own, they have no pride, no independence, no self-discipline, zero. That's why I never told my kids what to do. I wanted them to be proud of themselves. Anyway, here's how it goes. So she doesn't come to the table within 5 minutes. Okay. And then you do whatever you did before. Dinner's ready, but don't remind her about the rules. Okay. Dinner, come on, we got to get to the table. She's already broken the rule. Remember that. It's already broken. So then she sits down. Oh, okay, I forgot. And I'm sitting here, and now I'm sitting. And then she gets up and down. Don't say a word. This is what parents mess up all the time. No, you got up. That's so weak and pathetic. Just let her go. You're just sitting there eating. You're just eating. You see, this is a leader, right? Yeah. Okay, because you want her to learn to do it herself. I never want to micromanage kids because that's nagging, and wait till they're teenagers. They will rebel against that. That's why my kids never rebelled. There's nothing to rebel against, right? They're self-disciplined. They have pride, confidence, all that crap. But anyway, okay. So then she keeps getting up and you're just, sit down. So you can say that, but don't mention the rule. Don't mention that board. Okay. And then she sits down, eats, she brings a toy. She messes up completely. And now we're only focused on her, not the little one. He's not 3 yet, so we can't put him on the board. He's watching her. They tend to follow the older one. So anyway, then after the dinner, she's messed up in all accounts. It doesn't matter. Then after dinner, you say, oh, okay, let's go to the board. And that's how you speak. Let's go to the board now. And you always look at the board like you've never seen it before. And this is a business transaction. There are 0 emotions, 0 lectures, 0 discussing bad behavior. You just go like this. Now let me see. So the rule was follow mealtime routine. Right. Would she have run away already knowing what's coming? Or she might not know. If they run away, let's say she runs away. Worst case scenario, she starts yelling at you and she runs away. You're like this. You're like, oh, okay. Anyway. So the rule was follow mealtime routine. So she didn't come to the table and then she got up a few times. Okay, so your consequence, she's not here. Oh, well, I'm all alone. So the consequence is I'm going to get her to fill up the dishwasher within 10 minutes. That's her first consequence. Okay, so that's, I'm still alone. Oh, well, and then go find her. She's listening, by the way. She will be listening to that, but she's not there. She's probably yelling at you. I don't care if she's listening. It's none of my business. None of my business. Okay. So then I go find her and I say, okay, so her name's, I forgot her name. What's her name?
Sophia.
Sophia. Oh, I did write it down. Now I got it down twice. Okay. So Sophia, oh, it's funny. Did I write that down? I wrote it down, but I don't think you said her name.
I don't think so.
I don't think. Oh my
You
God.
You said Sophie earlier.
Maybe that's it. Why would I have written that down?
I know. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Spooky.
Yeah, I know.
All my powers. Anyway, so then you go to her and you say, okay, so by the way, you have to empty the dishwasher. The consequence is empty the dishwasher. I didn't know. I wasn't listening. I didn't say, well, you'll know next time, won't you? 10 minutes started a minute ago. Now you have started that timer. You are a leader. You're just following the board. Wow. I wasn't listening. I don't know. I was in here. Wasn't listening. Well, now you've got 8 minutes. You do not discuss it. And then I hate you. And then you're like, all you're doing is you're looking at the timer. Do not get into a conversation with someone or look on your phone. I think that's rude. Your job now is a timekeeper, and be near the dishwasher, be near the chore she should be doing. If you show anger, disappointment, or frustration, you're not a leader. You're weak. I'm just calm as anything. And I'm just, okay, 5 more minutes. See, I'm just looking out the window. I don't care if she does it or not. I could care less. None of my business. That's her business. So anyway, beep, beep, time's up. Now let me see. Oh, the dishwasher wasn't emptied. Okay, let's go back to the board. Now we have the second consequence. She chose not to do the first positive action. Now we're going to resort to the second one. It's all her choice. She never had to do any of this. This was her choice. Remember that. Remember, you're building her confidence by doing this. Not now, but later on. You're investing in tomorrow with all this stuff. So you go back to the board and say, now let me see. And remember, you've never seen it before. Now let me see. And you talk quiet, even if she's yelling. Now let me see. So she got up from the table. Right. Okay. So we did the dishwasher. Oh, and she didn't do that. She might run and do it now. Oh, fine. I'll do it now. Say, you don't have to. The 10 minutes is up. She's still continuing to do it. And you say, oh, the second consequence was, because you chose not to do that within 10 minutes, second consequence was 24-hour, no screens now. And that starts now. Not fair. I just emptied the dishwasher. Well, you'll know next time, won't you? 24-hour media blackout has to start. It might be 24 hours of hell, but boy, it's worth it. You're investing in tomorrow. You're calm as anything. Now, when she's calmed down, she's all upset, yelling and screaming, and you're just like, all right, whatever, well, you know, you're just doing your own thing, washing the dishes or whatever. When she's calmed down, you say, oh, do you want to read a book? Then you connect. You're a leader. You're not mad. You're not disappointed. You're not frustrated. You want to read a book? No, I hate you. I hate you. Okay, never mind. Walk away calmly. Wait till she's calmed down again. Say, you ready for that book now, sweetie? In other words, I still love you. There's no doghouse. There's no anger. She chose to not follow the mealtime routine. She chose to not do the first very easy consequence because she didn't do it. Now you chose 24-hour media blackout. That's how it goes. It works beautifully so long as you're calm. See how I'm so calm? They can't fight with a calm, loving leader forever. Eventually, they'll lean into it and they'll start telling you everything. They'll want to please you and you'll be best friends. That's the idea here. You want to be friends with your kids. You want to enjoy them. You don't want to be micromanaging, nagging, lecturing, shaming them, blaming them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's such a, because it seems a little bit not counterintuitive, but I feel like such a knee-jerk natural reaction for parents is to be that like nagging, micromanaging, kind of shaming.
Well, that's like saying it's a knee-jerk reaction to want to drink Coke and eat potato chips all night too, but we can't do that either. Sometimes the right thing is the thing that we don't want to do.
Right.
But this stuff works. Now, I specialize in troubled teenagers. And when they were really acting out, name calling and all that with the teacher, and I was in the back of the classroom with them as their mentor, right? Their behavior mentor. You know, I never mentioned what they did wrong because I knew everyone else was doing that. Do you know what I did? And they're the ones who said, you got to teach this stuff, Lisa. I would put my hand on their forearm and I'd just say, I'm right here. I'm right here.
Yeah.
That's all it took. But every time they do that, that was my punishment to them. In other words, I didn't like that, but I'm right here. You see that? It's a calmness. It's the calmness that makes this all work. And the connection. If you're not connecting, all this stuff is just useless, really. But the connection, you want to play a game? You want to read a book? I hate you. I hate you. You've already put out the olive branch. You've already said, I love you. I'm not mad at you. You're a great kid. I want to be with you. That's what you're saying. You want to read a book? No, I hate you. Okay, never mind. And then 30 minutes later, keep trying. Ready for that book now? You're like an idiot. You're like that loser in the playground that no one will play with. You know, it's kind of like that. You're very humble. No, but why did you punish me? Well, it's on the board. Treat that board like I'm just following the board.
So connecting just means like reaching out, constantly reaching out. If they reject you, just try again later. And
it's all up to you. You're the leader, remember? You're the leader. And here's the thing is it's a lot more give than take initially, but as time goes on, it's pretty equal. And I was accountable. This is what makes it work too. I was accountable. If I messed up, my kids freaking loved it. If I messed up, I was late, I promised I'd do something and I'd forget to do it. They'd be in there like a dirty shirt. Mom, remember last night you promised to make some muffins? I don't see no muffins. And I'd go, what do you want? And they say, we'd love to go to the water slide park after school. And I say, fine, I'll bring your suits. And then one time, my son was the older one. They were like 8 and 5, I think, when this happened. So they said, we'd love to go to the water slide park after school. And then he said, oh, and she whispered in his ear. And then he said, oh, right. By the way, you're not allowed to push us out of the way and go first next time. Last time we'd gone, I lied and I said to them, you have to stand at the water slide park. You have to stand behind the red line. I was lying and I went flying in front of them and went down first. So be a playmate with your kids. Have fun with them. I was goofy. I played with them. And that connection is imperative. It's more important than the discipline.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I want to talk about the Brat Busters method. You've developed the Brat Busters Behavior Board as a tool for parents. How does it work? What kind of results have you seen from parents who implement it?
Yeah, well, I invented that about 20 years ago. I started my business. And the first year, I couldn't get across how important it is for you to lead by being accountable yourself. I could not get that across because I've never used a board. I would never use one. I want kids looking right at me. So I don't want a board. But anyway, I thought, oh my, how am I going to teach this? A year after I started my business, I invented the behavior board and I put the parents on it. If the parents don't also have a rule, like no yelling is usually their rule if they yell, and a consequence. And the consequence is always something fun for the kids. Like if you yelled at something like 10 minutes of hide and seek with the kids, you know, But one mom, this was really cute. She said, oh, I did a behavior board, but I changed it. Because when I'm coaching people, we do it together. And they said, I changed it. My consequence was no wine after dinner.
Oh,
The kids could care less if you have wine or not. It's got to be for the kids, right?
Yeah.
right,
Well, anyway,
right.
the parents have to be on it. Now, the parents have one rule. Each board has one rule for everybody over the age of 3 and over, and 2 consequences for the kids, because you can't always get them to do the consequence. Like the parents' consequence, they just have one, and it's something interactive that the kids would love, right? So that's your consequence. So they love it when you mess up. And then the kids' consequences, you have to have 2. You have to have a positive action. So they do something bad, you replace it with a good deed, basically doing a chore or something like that. Mine would have been brush my hair for 5 minutes, because my kids hated doing it and I loved having it done. They didn't act out very often, but I was wishing they would, because I love getting my hair brushed. But anyway, and they hated it. And believe me, they never went to 6 minutes. They went 5 minutes. That was it.
That's so funny.
Anyway, so you start with a positive action. And then if they won't do that, there's no anger. They don't have to do it. Then you do the negative deprivation. You take something away.
Take something.
Yes, but that was all their choice. That was, remember, they've got to understand. I used to tell my kids, if your good life is good, if your bad life ain't so good, I'll make sure of it, because I'm your mom and that's my job. Like, in other words, I'll make sure I correct you and guide you in the right direction. So, but I wanted them to have self-discipline. I never wanted to tell them what to do. And I never did. I have no memory of ever telling my kids to go to bed, do homework, get ready for school. Zero memory of any of that.
Crazy.
They knew if they didn't do it, then I would have said, oh, gee, you forgot about that. Get the brush. They go, darn it. That would have been it.
Yeah, yeah.
So then I guess, right now we struggle with going to bed on time, which is important to us. Then would you say like make a separate board for bedtime routine and kind of describe how
bedtime battles is actually, if you want to check out my courses, you might just want to look into that. By the way, it has a whole system in bedtime battles. Bedtime battles is from 2 to 8 years old, basically. And there's 2 parts to a bedtime battle: how to get them in bed, then how to keep them there. Getting them in bed is easy. It's keeping them there that's hard. So here's how it goes. The first part, you write it all out, again, like the mealtime routine. You write it all out. Here's brush your teeth, blah, 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 blah. Whatever time's left over between 7 and 8, then we'll read to you in bed. Okay, that's the idea. And then at lights out at 8, and you make sure that happens. So lights out at 8, stay in bed, don't get up. Okay, that's it. Good night, love you. That's it. You are not communicating with them after that. So you leave the room. You want them to be able to get out. Some parents have that crib tent. They literally keep their kids in there till they're 4 and 5 years old. It's like a jail cell. And I say, what if there's a fire and they wake up? Like, anyway, I don't really like that. But anyway, I need them to be able to get up. So anyway, they come out of the room. I'm hungry, I'm tired. You walk them back to bed. There's a bit more to it, like leading up to this. Like, you don't give them any food or water 90 minutes before bedtime, so they're empty, right? It's the idea. So no matter what they say, you say, I said it's bedtime, and you walk them back to bed and you put them in bed. You're not tucking them in. You're just basically, their body part just has to touch the mattress. They could be kicking and screaming. Do your best to drag them. Now, you don't look at them, and you don't move fast. You walk slow, like you couldn't be more bored. It's that leadership, calm stuff again. I always say be calm during the storms and crazy during the rainbows. I was a crazy mother. I'm still the goofy one in the family, but that's when they were playing. If my kids had ever acted out, I would have got calm and boring real fast. Okay. So the slower you move, the calmer you look. And plus you might have to do this 100 times. So move real slow, get her back to bed. So the first time you've said, I said, stay in bed, it's bedtime, right? Put her back. So you walk out of the room. If she gets out of the room, which she will, she'll come out again. You walk her back the second time and you say one word, bedtime, and put her back to bed. Every time after that, you don't talk to her. You don't look at her. You just slowly walk her back to bed. Slowly. Why aren't you talking to me? Nobody loves me. It's just manipulation. That's not love she's after. That's, I'm going to pull you in no matter what, because I'm in charge. That's all they're thinking in that moment. Okay. So you're just walking them back to bed. The worst story I ever heard, it's kind of a long story. I'll keep it short, but it went till 5 a.m. And it was an older kid. This kid was totally in charge. Now, I'd already been working with the family for a few weeks at this point. That's why, and this kid I knew was going to be difficult. So I said, we're not going to do bedtime battles till about the 3rd or 4th week, which when we finally did, it was a mammoth battle. Anyway, and the father had penned a very nasty email to me that he was going to send the next morning. He was so mad. And he says, this is useless. It didn't work. He didn't send it. By the way, they were drinking throughout the night to get through it. So that was part of it. And they weren't even drinkers. So it was just such a horrible, awful night. There's a lot more to the story, but it was awful. The only bad part about that is he never kept that email to me. I would have loved to have read that. I hate you. You're so stupid. You didn't help a bit. Anyway, they were psyching up for the next night. So this kid was getting out of bed till 5 a.m. So the parents took turns napping throughout the day, ready for the next night. That kid never got up again.
Wow.
It's by far the most successful thing that I teach on a regular basis is bedtime battles. The worse that first night is, the less likely they are to ever get up again. Because you've just proved, and now everything else got easier after that. The parents proved they can follow through. And my kids knew 100% when I said something, it was going to happen. So they never questioned me. Because if I said no, they wouldn't have said, please. I would have gone, what? I thought I said no. They wouldn't have questioned me. Because when I said something, it's like when I say bedtime, stay in bed, I'm going to make that happen. You see? It's just calm. No anger. None.
Wow.
None. Anyway,
Wow.
So I don't really have a Brat Busters Behavior Board title for that thing, other than the thing that makes it different from I don't know who else is out there, by the way. I've never looked at anyone else teaching because I only teach what I know. But you have to be on that board. If you're not on there, you're a dictator. You are not a leader. A leader leads by example. I show them I'm accountable. Therefore, I can say, well, you got to be accountable because I am. So they don't argue when you're accountable. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So for it would be the same. It would be if you didn't do something, then there would be like a positive action that you have to take time with your kids.
No, but it doesn't matter what my like. It doesn't have to be a positive action. They can kind of decide.
I see. So it's not like the same as your kids. Like
not at all.
They can take away something.
The thing is, I'm going to do it. So the thing is, they might not. You're giving them an option to do a positive action, which is easy. If they choose not to do that, then you resort to the negative deprivation. Whereas with me, I'd say my reaction would have been if I'd forgotten something. Oh God, they loved it. They both got this smirk and they'd come in like a team, and she's the little one. She's all happy and everything. And he's the talker. He was very funny. And they love that. But then I'd just say, okay, oh, right. I forgot. Shoot. I forgot. What do you want? And they'd go, we talked about it and we decided.
I see. Oh
That's how it went. That's how it went. But here's the thing too, is the way I talk about all this, it sounds, I always say that connection is more important than anything. I play hard with kids, like in their world. You never play with kids in your world. You're not trying to teach them things when you're playing. You can, but when you're really connecting, it's all in their world. And I'll give you an example of this. My granddaughter's 16 months old. When I'm with her, and if she decides to start, she is talking now, but when she decides to start blathering, I'm blathering with her. And she goes, where I'm pushing her in the stroller, and she goes, ba, 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 ba. And I go, ba, 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 ba. And then she gets louder. It makes her feel good.
Yeah.
It just makes them feel good. She's only 16 months old. It still makes her feel good. I play in her world. The other day, I daycare her one day a week, and this was fascinating to me. I have a bad back, and I was sore, so I sat on the couch. She looked at me like I was nuts. She's never seen me sit on the couch before. I'm always on the floor with her. I'm 64 years old with a bad back, and I'm on the floor with her all day. So I play in her world. That's the connection. You don't try and bring them up to your adult world. You know that thing, it's an old-fashioned thing. I don't know if anyone teaches this, but I remember hearing this about 20 or 30 years ago. When they're upset and crying and all that, you're supposed to get down on their level and say, use your words. Sends chills down my spine. What a patronizing, nasty thing to say to a child. In other words, be more like me. Could you imagine if you were upset and your husband said, use your words? It's exactly the same. Yeah. It's interesting because people don't get it until I say that.
Yeah.
They go, you're right. It is patronizing.
That makes sense.
Or when you say to a child, if he says, well, let's say you say to a child, we'll discuss it when you've calmed down. You're upset with your husband. He says, we'll discuss this when you've calmed down.
Oh,
it's the exact same reaction, but I'm their voice. I'm telling you how they react. They just can't verbalize it. They don't understand how to verbalize that. Right. So that's why I would never talk down to a child ever. Okay. And here's the funny thing is I couldn't believe how easy this was. I started mentoring kids and volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11. I was good at it. I was good at it. I just always understood kids. I thought I want to treat them the way I want to be treated. And I remember that, but I don't want to get away with anything. I didn't feel good about myself if I got away with anything. So I never let them get away with anything, but I played hard with them. But I was doing this at 11. So, and I'm 64. So
Wow.
I just understood it. And the daycare
Yeah.
ladies, back in the day, I would just walk by the daycare center and then I said, can I help out? And they'd literally let me hop the fence and help out. Can you
Oh
imagine
my
legally that
gosh.
happening now? And this is
Oh
back
my
in the 60s,
gosh.
back in the early
That's
70s.
Crazy.
Anyway,
Wow.
so, but they used to say to me, how do you do that? They just
Mm,
ask for you all day long. They want to be with Lisa.
mm,
So the
oh
leader is also the fun one. The leader is the
yeah.
one that they want to be with the most. The
mm.
leader is the
Mm-hmm.
one that makes them
Mm-hmm.
feel the best.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what
Mm-hmm.
leadership does for them.
Interesting.
You are
Wow.
rising them up, making them feel great, and they make great choices, and they are very attached to you because of it.
Wow.
Anyway,
Love
that's my
that.
speech. Was
Yeah.
that enough? I think I went on too much. You guys
No,
didn't get a
I'd
word
love to
in.
hear more. Like moving down, kind of like our things that we want to ask you is, we've already kind of touched on tantrums and bedtime battles. What other mistakes do you see parents making a lot? And how can we kind of more maybe easily correct those?
The tantrums, talking through tantrums.
Mm,
Tantrum is
Yeah.
not emotions and feelings. It sort of is. But really, it's more of a lack of emotional control at not getting their own way. It's based on
yeah.
anger. There's no way I would give that any attention. They need to learn how to work that out for
Mm,
themselves. If you interrupt a
Mm,
tantrum, you're stopping their learning.
So you
Children,
just let them
well,
cry it out,
there's
or
a
what?
method of doing that. I've got lots of
yeah.
videos online. If you type in Brat
Yeah.
Busters tantrums, millions of things will come up. But basically, the idea is that I'm nearby. They need to see me waiting for that tantrum to finish. They need to
Mm-hmm.
understand that you ignore the crazy and reward the calm. Any
Mm,
attention is reward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm
Mm.
ignoring the crazy, but I'm like filing my nails. Lots of my clients say their nails are down to the nubs because they've been filing their nails so much. But literally, it's sort of like you're waiting for a bus or just filing your nails and you're not looking at them. You're just like filing your nails like this, waiting. Don't
mm,
look at them. Don't talk to them. Wait. And don't talk to someone and don't go on your phone. That's dismissive and rude. They still are going through
mm,
something, but they need to see you waiting because eventually they're going to put it together. Oh, as soon as I shut up, then she'll talk to me. They'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll
mm.
get it.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, remember, we're investing
Mm-hmm.
in tomorrow. I do
Yeah.
short-term pain for long-term gain. You got to walk through the
Mm-hmm.
storms to get to the rainbows, right?
Mhm,
Everyone
mhm,
wants the
mhm.
rainbow, but this is how you do it. So
Right.
anyway, and as
Yeah.
soon as they're finished, you go, oh, y'all done? Do you want to go to the park? Now,
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
now, I need a hug.
mhm,
They're still in the hangover of the tantrum. I don't go
mm.
in for the hug.
You
'Cause they're-
don't give a hug.
No, that's not a love
Wow.
hug. That's not a love hug. I hug kids all the time. I'm very demonstrative with
Yeah.
kids. Okay. I'm very physical with kids. Like I love hugging them and
That's
that, but
interesting.
not
Okay.
then. During a tantrum, it's still around anger. When you hug them, it makes it look like you feel sorry for them. I'm so sorry I was ignoring that
Ah.
tantrum. That is not a
Uh,
love hug. That is a validate my tantrum hug. So
Even when she's
mm,
asking, like, I want a
yeah,
hug,
I know.
like,
Nobody loves
no.
me. Nobody. And
Yeah.
this is what you do. This is what you do, though. So now
Huh.
you're talking to her. You say, oh, you want to go to the park? I need a hug. And you pat her on the back and say, you're all right. Let's go to the park. See that upbeat? Upbeat.
uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Upbeat. In other words,
Mm.
I'm trying to pull her into my energy rather than let her pull me into her energy. See the
Ah,
difference? You know
yeah.
what's
Yeah.
funny is when they learn who you are and that you're good at this. If like when I was working with kids and they'd be all upset about something, I'd say, oh, you all done? Do you want to get back to work now? And they, yeah, okay. They'd calm right down. It was amazing
Mm,
because
yeah.
I am the leader and I am pulling them into my upbeat, positive energy. I am not
Mm,
allowing them to drag me into that negative energy. And
Mhm.
that just tantrum hangover is still the negative energy.
mm.
That is not a
Mhm.
love hug. And parents get pulled into this all the time. And I'm sure there's a lot, and I never
Yeah.
look at my competition. I have no idea what anyone's teaching, but my clients will tell me this. They say, oh, you've got a hug. You got, no. It's the wrong thing to do. You're validating it. Remember, keep
Yeah.
tantruming. I'm going to hug you every time you do. It's not a love hug. It is a validate my anger hug. You do not
Mhm.
want to do
Mhm.
that. Okay.
Wow.
What do you do in situations where you're in public, like on an airplane?
Wow.
It's hard to, and like the whole plane can hear it.
Yeah.
Situations like that, like
Okay,
you're at
that's an
a,
exception. Now, if you're in
okay.
public and you can get away, right? You take
Yeah,
them out of the
right.
restaurant and you let them tantrum in the
Yeah.
parking lot or in the car. But if you're on a
Yeah.
plane or a train and you're smashed in with people and you're all trapped together, you give them whatever they want. There's no way I
Mm,
would put other people through that. I think that's
that's
really,
true.
really rude. So I am the same
Totally.
mother, but my kids learned like if I was on a plane, they'd get whatever they want.
Mhm.
But they were
Ah,
I was already a leader, so they didn't do anything. But
Yeah.
anyway,
yeah.
but yeah, they learn the difference. As soon as you get off that plane, you're right back to the other way. They
Ah,
understand that. Oh, I see when we're
yeah.
confined. But yeah, and how boring is it for them to be on a plane? Same within church. I sometimes
Yeah.
get hired by people and they say, how do we get our 1.5 or 2-year-old to sit quietly in church? I'm like, I think you need to hire someone else. I don't, it's not reasonable. You're meeting their needs and managing their wants. That's not meeting their needs. Their needs are they need to be able to be kind of crazy and,
Yeah.
So, but you got to have realistic expectations. Being on a plane or a train for a long period of time is very draining, more so for you, I think, than them, but with them. We used to live in Australia, and now I live in Canada where I was born. Anyway, and we used to travel back and forth. So my son, the very first time we did that, he was 18 months old. Now, here I am, 24-hour trip with about layover. It was a 24. He never slept for 24 hours. He's 18 months old. What do you think I did? What do you think I did that whole 24 hours? Whatever you want.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You can have anything you want. Yeah, it was a nightmare. But he was good, but it was just giving him whatever he wanted. So that's the exception.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I wanted to switch gears a little bit to talk about just how to manage different ages. So your boot camps cater to different age groups. So how do your strategies vary for, toddlers versus older children? They might be obvious, but, would love to hear your perspective.
Yeah.
And
toddler to me, the way I view it anyway, a toddler is 16 to 35 months. Okay. They don't really have a source of reasoning, but they can learn through repetition. So in other words, a toddler will touch a hot stove 10 times, but they might not touch it the 11th, but there's not a lot of thought that goes into that. It's more of a knee-jerk reaction. It's more a muscle memory than anything. Okay. So that's how they learn. So with them, I use consistent corrective action. So every time they throw a toy, you grab that toy, put it away where they can see it, put it away for a while. They will eventually learn. That's that knee-jerk reaction. They'll eventually learn if I throw, I get it taken away. And there's lots of examples of that in my course in that. Anyway, that's the toddler one. Then when they turn 3, they have the ability to stop and think before they act. Doesn't mean they're going to do it every time, but they have the ability to learn to stop and think before they act. And that's when the behavior board gets used. So that's from 3 to 12 years old is a boot camp course for that, for the behavior board. Teenagers are a little bit different. That's my specialty. I love teenagers. They're 13 and up, obviously. With them, it's more, actually, I should read out my top 5 tips, but I couldn't be bothered trying to find it. Anyway, with teenagers, there's a lot of negotiating back and forth to show them respect. There's a lot of give and take. Hey, I want you to put your dirty dishes away each time. Then you say something like this: what do you want from me? Now, when you get good at this, they never come at you with something ridiculous. Well, I want you to supply me with drugs and hookers. And I mean, they just don't talk like that. So they tend to be really reasonable, because if you're a leader and you've raised them like this, they say, well, I'll tell you what, Mom, when I ask you to sort of leave me alone when I'm doing this or that, can you just leave me alone? Oh, okay. And you negotiate back. There's a lot more of that with teenagers, but you're the height of your leadership, and you're kind of passing the leadership torch over to teenagers more. But because you've done such a good job raising them, they're fine with that. And they come to you with the big stuff. Okay. Now, 3 to 12 years old is when you're at the height of your leadership. That's when they want to please you. They just, because you're like a mentor. Have you ever had anyone that you look up to, like a teacher, a grandparent, anyone that you look at, and they make you feel great and you want to do good for them? That's that age group, 3 to 12. 13 and up, you don't want that. You don't want your teenagers to just want to please you. You want to turn them into adults now. You want them more to please themselves, but they don't want to disappoint you. There's a difference there. And they'll tell you everything, even if you don't want to hear it. When you get good at this, they trust you, they lean on you, and they will tell you everything. Okay, that's the trust. And think about it. If they're going to tell you everything, they're not going to do stuff that you don't want to hear anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So it keeps them in line, because they have self-pride. They have pride.
Yeah.
Okay. So the difference basically is there's no behavior board with toddlers. It's consistent corrective actions, a lot of playing with them, a lot of silly stuff. I used to chase my kids around the house with underpants on my head. I was the panty monster. So just all silly, goofy. And then 3 to 12, that sort of shifts. So you still be, well, I'm always goofy anyway, but there's more talking, right? And there's more reasoning. And then teenagers, you got to learn to back off a bit too. Let them make more mistakes. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, you just say to a teenager, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. Like, it's okay to be human. It's okay to make mistakes. One of the nicest things anyone ever said to me was one of the troubled teens I worked with years later said, I didn't like myself until I met you. That was probably the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. I didn't like myself. That is a leader. That's what you want to do for them. They'll like you regardless. But my goal is always that they like themselves. When they feel good, they do good. And that is always my number one goal. Their self-esteem, their pride, their self-love. That is always my number one goal. Always.
Okay, now we want to talk about gentle versus authoritative
Oh, yeah.
parenting. Yeah, love to hear your thoughts. Like, what
Well,
is gentle
okay,
parenting? Pros,
I
cons?
don't critique other
Yeah,
parenting methods, and I'll tell you
yeah.
why. I do talk about the big picture stuff, the old-fashioned authority, the newfangled pleaser. The old-fashioned
Mm-hmm.
authority is not bad, but they will rebel if they have it in them. They will rebel in the
Mm-hmm.
teen years because they've got something to
Mm-hmm.
rebel against. The pleaser parent is a disaster all around. You're trying to please
Yeah.
them. The participation awards, those participation
Yeah.
awards.
Right, right,
What is it teaching? You're trying to make everything fun. What does
Mm-hmm.
that teach them about life? I don't want to do
right.
this job. It's no fun. But you're like
Yeah.
you got to teach them to do the hard stuff, right? So the
Right.
pleaser parent is the most likely one to yell by far of everyone I
Oh,
coach.
really?
Oh, by far, because it's the most useless one. It's the one that
That makes
gets you
sense.
don't get any respect,
That
none,
makes
because you're
sense.
too busy
Yeah.
trying to please them. You know that friend who's always
Yeah.
trying to please everybody? You're a loser. That's the way the kids view you. So they step all over you. They treat you like a dirty dish rag, and you're raising self-entitled snot rags who are just going to ask for money for the rest of their lives. That's
Mm-hmm.
my generalization about that. Okay,
Love
because I've worked
that.
with now. I've never looked at any of that. I've never looked into it because why would I? I focus on my customers, not my competition. But my
Mhm.
clients tell me this stuff. And they say,
Yeah.
we were taught to do that. I know it's trendy, but it's feeding the mom's emotions. It is not for the children. It's to make the moms feel good about what she's doing, but it's actually
Right.
destructive because you're not
Mhm.
raising confident, young, independent adults. You are raising
Mhm.
self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. That's what
Yeah.
you're doing to those kids. You're not raising strong individuals, and they're going to walk all over you. They're going to use you. They're going to ask for stuff all the time.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
those are the parents that struggle the most by far of
Yeah.
everyone I teach
Mm.
I
because
could
it doesn't
see
work.
that.
It just doesn't work. But the old-fashioned authority, it's not bad. I don't like it. I don't do it, but it's not bad. Like it'll still turn out pretty good kids, but the pleaser will turn out as disaster. I remember about
Yeah.
30 years ago, I said, "Oh God, we're in trouble." It came in about 30 years ago, and it
Mhm.
started with the
Mhm.
participation awards.
Yeah.
Oh my
Right, right,
God.
right.
Oh my God. And I remember I used to have a column in the newspaper, and one of them, I just got trashed all the time because no one was ready for what I was saying, right? They were
Uh-huh.
following all this pleaser parent stuff, which sounds so
Mhm.
lovely, but it's garbage.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there was a big lawsuit, and I think it was in California. A mother was suing the school for not giving her child a participation award during sports day.
Oh
She won the
no.
case. She won the case. Anyway,
Gosh.
just a minute. Her kid never even went to sports day.
Oh,
Oh my
wow.
They
gosh.
weren't even
So
there. She wound up.
that's
That is the epitome of pleaser parents. What a
yeah.
disaster!
Wow.
A total disaster.
Yeah. And I mean, even just like saying, because I hear mixed things. Like I hear like, don't say no to your kids, but that just
That's
seems
fine. You can say no. No,
right.
don't do that.
Right.
If you do, here's your
Okay.
consequence. No, you
Yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Here's your consequence. That's how I talk, though. I don't go no. I
Yeah.
don't do shaming, blaming, or show disappointment or anger or frustration. You just go, no,
Mm.
no, you can't do that. Here's your consequence. Or no, we're going to put that
Mhm.
away. That's how
Mhm.
I talk.
Mhm. Mhm.
If
Mm.
you show anger, frustration, or disappointment, you're doing it wrong. That's the shaming and
Mm.
blaming. It brings out that bad feeling. If someone treated you with shame, that you shamed you as an adult, wouldn't you
Mhm.
kind of want to
Mhm.
continue doing it?
Oh yeah.
You know you shouldn't. What if your husband, you know you shouldn't do that? What were you
Mhm.
thinking? Remember we discussed that the other day and you promised me you wouldn't do it and you did it
Mhm.
again. I'm so
Mhm.
disappointed. What would
Mhm.
happen to him?
Mm.
Seriously.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Oh
he
yeah.
might run after he sees the
Mhm.
look on your face. It's the
Oh
same
yeah.
emotion that you're putting in your kids. They just can't. I'm their voice. They
Mhm.
feel the exact same way. It's all this discussing. I don't discuss bad behavior. Never. And I specialize in troubled teenagers. I do not discuss
Mm.
bad behavior. I deal with it. Oh, it chose to do that. What do you think's a good consequence here? Oh, okay, I guess. Yeah, okay, fine. That's it. And then that's over. I don't discuss it. They already know.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
already know.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, how do you set those like healthy boundaries
Mhm.
and be that leader? Yeah, I guess that's what you said, like no shaming, no guilt, but still having those boundaries.
Well, play and fun and humor is their love language. It just is.
Mm.
Children
Mhm.
naturally, instinctively go towards joy. That's why I always call myself a 64-year-old toddler. I love
Mhm.
laughing. I just always have. My
Mhm.
mom used to say, I've never known anyone who giggles as much as you do. I just love joy and laughter. That's why I
Yeah.
think I relate to kids so well, because they love it
Mhm.
too. They're
Mhm.
not caught up in all this, well, you got to take life seriously. Yeah, I do. I've got responsibility. I've raised kids. But it's not having fun with your children will escalate your leadership to such a degree I can't even tell you. But if when you're playing with them and goofing around with them and having fun, if my kids had, let's say, acted out and pushed the other one, I would have said, oops, we'll try again tomorrow. And they would have instantly gone, oh, sorry. They wouldn't have argued it because they would have known they overstepped. That's how you train them. So you can even, and that's, now I had no leverage when I was mentoring kids. I've mentored all sorts of kids with all sorts of challenges, delinquent teenagers and all that. I had no leverage. How on earth did I discipline all those kids and get respect? How did I do it? My leverage was fun and humor with teenagers. Now, let's say a kid had acted out with me, and I'm very connected when I'm with, and working with kids is different because all you're doing is connecting with them for that whole hour and a half or whatever, right? You're not doing that with your kids all day. That's why we've got the behavior board and consistent corrective actions and all that stuff. But when I was working with kids, it's quite different. So it's just me one-on-one. It's one-on-one mentorship, right? So if they'd acted out, I would have said, that was interesting. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to go quiet for 30 seconds. And they'd go, sorry, Lisa, 20 more seconds. So there was no anger, but they got it. You think they'd act out again in that hour and a half? No. That was my punishment, was I was so connected, but I'd disconnect for 30 seconds. I'd say, oh boy, I probably shouldn't have done that. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to go quiet for 30 seconds. It's very powerful. Silence is golden. Here I am connecting, talking, laughing the whole time, getting them to work, doing stuff. And then I disconnect if they do something I didn't like. It's all the leverage I had. And then they, sorry, Lisa, it's okay. 20 more seconds. So kind of use humor. So I wasn't making them feel bad. See, if you shouldn't do that. Why would you do that? Remember you did that? That makes my skin crawl. It's so mean. I don't do anything like that. I want kids to feel good even when they're bad, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
anyway,
I love that. I think it sounds like just really having a good, strong foundation with that connection and like showing that like loving, fun, like jovial, lighthearted side.
Always cheery.
Always cheery, right?
And if I wasn't, I would say to my own kids, I would say, look, I'm in a mood, it might be that time of the month or whatever. I'm in a mood. From a very young age, they had it on the calendar. They knew when mom might get a bit moody. So I'd say, look, just scram if you value your own life, just scram. And they'd laugh and run away. So they'd leave me alone for a while so I could just sit and read a book. They respect you enough that it's okay that I'm not perfect. If you're trying to look perfect all the time, that's ridiculous. How are they going to feel about themselves if they see you being perfect all the time? It's important to show that you're human too. So I say, if you value your life, you better scram right now for about an hour. And they'd laugh and they'd run away. So it was no big deal. Nothing was a big deal. It was all sort of just in the open. Everything was, I don't have a filter. So everything that I'm thinking kind of comes flying out. So my kids always knew where they stood. I was very predictable.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So sorry about that. I feel like
I love
so much at you.
No, this is so great. There was something that I was just thinking about that I kind of have a fear of. Like I said, I have a son who's he's 20, almost 22 months, but I'm already thinking about this is the use of screens and phones. Like, there are kids that are being introduced to phones at the age of like 9. And I know it's a crazy evolving, culture that we're living in, but like what is your view on that, on screens, phones, and managing that?
I don't really have a set view. There's no black and white. Most of what I say is black and white, but this is more of a gray area. You've got to decide what works for you. I have a whole bunch of clients who have no screens in the house at all. They live in different countries and they're just, or they're highly religious, and they just don't believe in any technology at all. Like a lot of my clients are Jewish. And I don't know, I can't remember what it is, but every so often they literally have no electricity. They don't use electricity.
Wow.
Stuff like that. So we've got to be very creative. So, but screens, I think, screens are important. They're for tomorrow, like we need them. But what I would do is I would have a plan. And I would say, look, could be maybe 30 minutes before dinner, you can have a screen, but always use the timer. The timer is your best friend. It's visual and it goes ding, ding when it's over. They will learn that they only get that 30 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day. And of course you're policing that to make sure what they're on. When it comes to phones, I can't give you advice on that. And I'll tell you why, because every community is different. I'd suggest a phone might be 12 or 13. That would be my gut reaction. They should have it maybe around 12 or 13. Here's the problem with that though, is that if you Okay, if you think you can protect children from the internet, you're naive. They're going to have friends who have older siblings
Yeah.
who've left a phone open somewhere. They're going to
Right.
see what they're going to see anyway. So education is the
Yeah,
best thing you can do. You
I
educate them on
see.
what's out there and what to look out for. Knowledge is power. It does not take away their innocence. It does not. But not having the knowledge behind knowing what they're seeing is wrong or inappropriate,
Yeah.
that is taking away their power. But I empowered my kids. I talk very openly with them, age appropriate, so that when they did see stuff, they knew what it was and they'd tell me about it. So, and yeah, I won't go into all that. That's a big topic. But yeah, you decide what works for your family, but use the timer and be consistent every day for 15 minutes or whatever. They will learn that's all they get. Now, the exception is if you're on a plane, I would put a phone in front of them for the whole 24 hours. Whatever they want, they can have whatever they want.
Yeah, right,
I would
right.
use
For
that.
sure.
Just because I would be afraid for my own life if I let my kid have a tantrum on a crowded plane. I would not want to be around those people out in the parking lot afterwards.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah,
Right,
that's
right.
the exception. But that's a gray area. You've got to decide
Yeah.
for yourself. As I said,
Okay.
I've got a lot of clients who love it and they use a lot of it. I do try and discourage that, a lot of it, but that's
Yeah.
up to you to decide.
Okay. But no, I like that. I like the kind of the advice surrounding it. And
But as they get older, your kids are too little, but by about 5, 6, 7, 8, around them, what I like to do is I like to say how many hours you've got per week. And I keep track of every 10-minute interval and I have it up on a big board, and they might just use it all within the first 3 days. The next 4 days are hell for you and them. Do you think they're going to be more responsible the next week?
Yeah.
So
a good point.
I always want to teach kids to be self-disciplined. I never want to control them. So I would just say, look, you can have like 10 hours a week or whatever, your 10-year-old, whatever it is, 10 hours a week. I don't care when. You can't, it has to be appropriate times. You can't do it during school or 3 o'clock in the morning, but then you can use it whenever you want. But if they trust you, they'll instantly do it very responsibly. But if they don't trust you, because they know they're going to be hell to live with, and you're going to give in because you're a pleaser. So if you're a pleaser, they will not respect you at all. They're going to use it all on the first day and then think, well, you're not going to want to live with me for the next 6 days. I would put on my helmet and I'd be ready to go. There's no way they'd get any screens for the next 6 days. No way. I would win that. But the thing is, you got to mean what you say and say what you mean. So be careful what you say.
Yeah.
You got to
What
be willing to follow
about
through.
if you're, obviously, with your partner isn't on board? I mean, that obviously would matter, right? Like if mom says no, but then dad gives in, or vice versa.
Well,
so both parents have to be really on the same page for this.
Okay. What I do with parents who are not on the same page, and I've got one undermining the other, I have a whole system. I've got a system for everything. I got a whole system for this.
Yes.
So what I say is, okay, you're going to get your own behavior board, the parents, and the one who undermines their rule, and this is in the master bathroom usually, and that parent's rule is no undermining me. That is the rule. And you only discuss it later to yourselves. You don't discuss this stuff in front of the kids. So then the consequence is he has to give you a foot massage or something like that, right? If he undermines you. But have fun with it. No, it's supposed to be funny, or you get to give them a pedicure or something, something silly, or the girls get to give them a makeover the next day. So something like that. Here's the funny part. I don't want to say too much. I tell a lot of stories in coaching, but I got to be careful. I always get permission to tell these stories, but I don't like to always tell them in public. Anyway, let's just say, okay, I had this one dad who was very funny, very upfront. He'd been around the block a few times in life. He showed me that if his wife undermined him, he showed me the consequence of what she had to do. It was X-rated, and he had drawn it, and he showed me the picture. It was so vile. And I said to him, it was something that and he said, and she never undermined me once all week. And I said, that's because you were stupid. I said, if you hadn't done something that vile, you would have been getting it every single night. And he went, damn, you're right. So anyway, but yeah, you get your own behavior board going, have fun with it. And you got to be on the same page in front of the kids. You cannot undermine each other.
Yeah.
Talk about looking weak. I mean, and by the way, only one parent has to be the leader, but you both have to be on the same page. But the leader is the prized role. Parents often fight over who has to be the leader in the first session with me. By the second or third session, they're fighting over who gets to be the leader. They start to understand the leader is usually the one that's the most connected to the kids. And you're the one that they're going to tell everything right through the teen years.
Can both parents be leaders?
Yes, you can, but there's usually one dominant one.
I see.
Usually. It's the one where if the poop hits the fan when they're teenagers, that's the one they'll go to. It's the calmest one, the one that will help them figure it out.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, this is amazing. We're getting towards the end. One last question. Do you have a piece of advice for parents who feel like they're constantly in crisis mode and they don't know where to start? Like, what is just one piece of advice?
Go on my website, start with my behavior board. And it does have a toddler. It's a mini course. It's completely free. And it's just the training wheels. And we go off the board, by the way. We don't use it forever in the courses or in coaching, but we start there because you're only focused on one rule at a time. And with toddlers, there's a section in there, but toddlers are kind of crazy. They're going to do what they're going to do. It takes longer with them. But you do tend to see quicker results with older kids. But start with the behavior board. It's all paced out to help you to get started. That's where you start.
Love it.
Okay.
Not where you end up, but it's where you start.
Start. Okay.
Hop on there right after this.
Yes. Well, thank you. Well, we hope this episode gave you all some clarity on which parenting style clicks with you or how to mix and match to suit your family.
Yeah. Parenting is a journey, and finding what works for your unique situation is key. Whether you lean more towards gentle or authoritative parenting, both can create happy, healthy kids. And then if you enjoy this,
but I teach calm leadership. So you can also
calm leadership.
Calm leadership.
Yes.
Be that leader. That is key.
I felt so left out. My chin was quivering there. Calm leadership too.
Yes.
Totally. And I can finish. Okay. So maybe I'll record. Whether you lean more towards leadership, gentle or authoritative parenting, all can create happy, healthy kids.
Okay.
There you go. So if you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe, leave us a review, follow us on YouTube, and come back next Tuesday for more parenting tips and insights. And also, Lisa, where can our listeners, viewers, find you for all this information?
It's on bratbusters.com.
Love this.
Is there a social media channel that we can?
Yeah, I'm on. Yeah, I'm on everywhere. I'm on. I don't know, TikTok. Well, I don't do that. My daughter does all that. So I'm like, I don't know where I am.
What is your handle? Yeah.
Brat Busters Parenting. Look, I don't know anything. She's right here. She's telling Brat Busters Parenting. Okay.
I love it.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We loved talking and getting all this really insightful information. I feel like you have this natural gift. A lot of people who are good with kids, I think that there's something innate that's different. So we appreciate you sharing
well,
your
thanks
gift.
so much. It's been a joy, and you're very good hosts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.